Namaste and welcome to all the viewers to another live stream uh, on some historical topics. Today, we shall take up a very interesting aspect of one of the historical figures who is properly known as the reformer as well, and his relationship with monotheism. We have already discussed a little bit about it in our last stream, and we also ran some polls whether on this particular title that we wanted to discuss as a Zabardast Maulvi. Why? Right. So here is the poll we ran. We ran it on YouTube and X, and of course, our viewers are very intelligent. They guessed right that it is obviously Rammohan Roy, who was the person who we are going to discuss and who was called with such a title. Yes. So, any thoughts on this, Rishi and Nocturnal Patriot, before we start off?
Greetings to all of the audiences and members over here, first and foremost. And the poll that we organized last time, so the results are in. And correctly, many of the audiences have, uh, like 58% of our audience, at least, who have participated in this, have correctly guessed who are we talking about today. But uh, on this issue of Zabardast Maulvi, maybe some set of audience may get very shocked to see this, but today the literature that we will be analyzing and studying in depth, those, what should I say, those suspicions that they may have all shall be cleared as well, if they have any for us. Yeah, Nocturnal and Nenner.
So yes, what I want to basically clarify in the beginning is obviously the title itself was a sort of you can say a rhetorical kind of thing to highlight his kind of you can say his leanings towards Persianate you can say culture, lifestyle, well, you would say literature as well, because he was very well versed with it. And as we will see, we are going to discuss a monograph by Brajendra Sheel on his first book, which is called A Gift to Monotheists in the title translated into English, which is a very interesting proposition of the same Unitarian idea that we had discussed last time. It is a very interesting twist into that kind of view. So we are able to see an early development of how exactly his views evolved over time through this book. So yeah, I think we can start off here.
Yep, absolutely. And would ask audience to ask questions with hashtag ASK, and we shall take that as well.
Yeah, hopefully some of the myths and some of the uh, dazzle that surrounds such icons, larger than life icons, will be successfully addressed in our discussion.
Are you able to see the screen?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Yes. So as you can see, this is the book, and this is of course by Ram Mohan Roy, and it is also it has some introduction and some basically a critical analysis by Brajendra Sheel. Though the critical analysis, of course, biased, given that Dr. Brajendra Sheel, he himself was a Brahmo Samaji who kind of had the commitment to defend his views through the critique as well. So yes, we start off with that in mind. First of all, I would like to show the exact reference as to where such a title comes about. So the actual fact is that since he was so learned in Persian and Arabic, a lot of the, you can say, the well-learned Maulvi class in Fort William College, they were very well acquainted with him. As you know, that he was you can say, still a reputed translator amongst the Englishmen and those days in Calcutta. So because he read a lot of Persian literature, things like Hafiz and others who we will discuss, he was called a Zabardast Maulvi by these colleague Maulvis at the Fort William College. And later, of course, the glorification reaches other circles where Brahmos, basically his ideological descendants, they also love this title that we have got, you can say, we have got, what is it called? Appreciation from another religion, another corner of the philosophical spectrum. So that was kind of the merit and the merit they saw in these remarks in this title, basically. So yes, an example of how Brahmos use it. So this is the starting of the text by Brajendra Shield. So yes, before that, do um, Rishi or Nocturnal Patriot have any thoughts to share?
Yeah, so the Brahmo Samaj, in a sense, since it had so many members of the elite society, they loved validation from other communities. So the very fact that one of their icons had received recognition as a stalwart from other circles was something that really made them very happy and jubilant. And they kept, waving that as an achievement, quite understandably.
Yes. So the text starts off with basically outlining what were the formative influences on Ram Mohan Roy. Among other things, of course, you can say the 18th century movements of Enlightenment rationalism, or you can say the reforming corpus of Hindu literature that was coming out of Orientalists that we have discussed in previous streams, the nature of it. Apart from that, second most, arguably, the second most important, you can say, influence on him was that of Arabic philosophy and theology, especially the influences of Greek in it. He was very well acquainted with law, and as you know, in those days, law was meant Sharia law, which was actually being, of course, continued by the British in various forms. And specifically, this is the reference that he himself makes, I think, elsewhere, that he was deriving his thought from the thought of this sect called Mutazallas and the Muwahitis, which is from which the text gets its name, the monotheists, you can say.
And there are
So
Masonic links as well, as you can see if you go up.
yes, I
Yes.
think this is a different Masonic body, but yes, it is related to that. And of course, they you can as you can see here, they try to downplay the influence of Christian theology by putting it into the last, but
That happened to
that
be one of the
was
primary influences, as we well know.
exactly very well. It was much more important than the Enlightenment rationalism. So, so yes, this is an example of how this term of how the kind of glorification of Brahman was done with such terms. The term, for example, being Zabardast Maulvi at the outset. So this is by Brajendra Nachi, of course. At the outset, I would sound a note of warning against that indiscriminate use of the rich but heterogeneous materials presented in the Raja's works. For a right understanding and estimate of the Raja's thought and utterance, it is necessary to bear in mind the two essentially distinct but equally indispensable parts which the Raja played on the historic stage. There was Raja Rammohan Roy, the cosmopolite, the rationalist thinker, the representative man with a universal outlook on human civilization in its historic march, a Brahmin of the Brahmins, a hierophant moralizing from the commanding height of some Eiffel Tower on the far seen vistas, outstretched to aspects of the world civilization. Jeremy Bentham's admired and dearly loved collaborator in the service of mankind, the peer of Hume's, the Gibbons, the Voltaires, the Volneys, the Diderots, or any freethinker or rationalist of them all. For him, all idols were broken and the parent of illusions. Authority had been hacked to pieces. He, cosmopolite, was daunted by no speculative doubts, discouraged by no craven fears. For him, the veil of Isis was torn, the temple had been rent in twain, and the Holy of Holies lay bare to his gaze. For he had his disillusionment, was indeed a thorough roue of the monde or demi-monde intellectual. Calmly, fearlessly, truthfully, he probed, fathomed, dissected. And by deep meditation and brooding, he had won a glimpse of the truth. Here is where it gets more interesting. Listen carefully. But there was another and equally characteristic part played by the Raja, the part of the nationalist reformer, instructor, practical social legislator, the renovator of national scriptures and revelations. For the Raja was cast in nature's regal mold. His was the work of half a dozen giants.
Giants.
His name was Legion, Hindu Pandit, Zabardast Maulvi, Christian Padri, the Rishi of a new Manvantara or a Yuga, the Imam or Mahdi of a new tradition, the Prophet or a Nabi of a newer dispensation. By what name shall I call this man? So you can imagine
Ah,
the scale of the scale of appreciation which Brijendranath Singh has breached through this.
Menu, just a note. Could you please zoom the page a bit more? The audience.
Yes, yes. How much more? Is this better?
Uh, I
yeah,
think this
this is
is
almost.
a bit more. Yeah, it's better. Yeah.
A
Okay.
bit more?
Yeah, this should be fine.
Yeah, fine.
Yes. So any
Yeah,
thoughts on this
please.
part?
Yeah, look at the. It's what should I say? There is a Sanskrit word for it. Okay, like Birudavali. Like when a king used to come at the sabha, so there would be an announcer who would start reciting titles for that king. It used to be tradition even in Mughal courts as well. So this para completely seemed like that, uh, a kind of Birudavali from an acolyte.
So he's
Nothing
blowing
else. There's
trumpets for
nothing.
the Raja. The Raja is being
Yeah.
welcomed. Trumpets are being blown.
Also, quite a
Yes.
bit of blasphemous things are said at last. I won't mention those, but
Blasphemous to
you can guess
practically all religions.
Very true.
completely.
And as you can see here, the term Zabardast Maulvi has come up already.
Yep.
And you can see it's being differentiated from the rest because it was actually a term being used. The others are just he has had it himself. This one he could probably recall that it was actually being used for him.
And
Also, did you notice this?
what's noteworthy
Yeah,
is
both
that,
of
that
you.
he has been called, or rather, he called himself a Brahmin of Brahmins, in spite of having
Yeah.
forsaken idol worship, forsaken Hinduism, and chosen
No,
the
no,
stance he did in life.
this is Brijendranath Sheil calling him that.
Yes,
So
I
it's
mean,
not him.
he also called himself a Brahmin. Like he bore the sacred thread, and at least most writing about him has acknowledged that he was a Brahmin in a sense. So
Even though,
he
yeah.
retained his
So
caste
what?
identity.
Yeah, I wanted to say to both of you, did you notice something that how there is this uh, stress upon trying to make him a more better Hindu, or like the great titles which are used for Hindu sages, that has been used more for him, whereas for other religions, the I guess in Islam's case it was very blasphemous, but in Christian's case also, he has not been called son of God. I think that has been left out,
Yeah.
or he would have been made that as well.
Yes, because also he kind of had a special place in his mind for Jesus, right? He can't replace Jesus with himself.
Yep. I guess that's where the buck stops for these guys, at least.
Very much. He could only be a padri.
So, audience can guess how much of critical nature will this work be, especially from Rajendranath Shil at least.
Yes,
So,
so we have to
please be
exactly
careful.
add our own commentary on it to actually sift through the knowledge of this. So for now, we can probably start off. So there are two main sections. First is the text itself, the the translation of it, which we will go through in parts, not entirely. Second, there is an entire, you can say, critic analysis of it, of obviously kind of appreciating it and from different angles and so on. Not really a proper critique, but yes, it has a lot of useful information, so we will go through it as well. It's useful as a summary.
By the way, just for clarification, will we be showing his original influences at least for what he wrote in the text itself? Because there are some mentions of that as well, right?
Yes, we can basically skim through it, and we'll stop each time we see something interesting.
Amazing, amazing. Okay,
Yeah,
let's
that
start
works.
then. Yeah.
That works.
Yes, so first we start off with the introduction. This is written in Arabic. This is the text itself, so keep that in mind. I traveled in the remotest parts of the world, in plains as well as in hilly lands, and I found the inhabitants thereof agreeing generally in believing in the existence of one being who is the source of creation and the governor of it, and disagree in giving peculiar attributes to that being, and in holding different creeds consisting of the doctrines of religion and precepts for what is haram and halal, forbidden or legal. By induction, from this it has been known to me that turning generally towards one eternal being. Actually, one thing must be clarified. When he writes one eternal being here, the translation is directly the word from Islam, Allah. So
Hmm.
he's translated that in the spirit of Brahmo here. That must be kept in mind.
Yep.
So yes, th- that turning generally towards one eternal being is like a natural tendency in human beings and is common to all individuals of mankind equally. And the inclination of each sect of mankind to a particular god or gods, holding certain special attributes and to some peculiar forms of worship or devotion, is an excrescent quality grown in mankind by custom and by training. What a vast difference is there between nature and custom. Some of these sectaries are ready to confute the creeds of others, owing to a disagreement with them, believing the truths of the sayings of the ancient predecessors, while those predecessors also, like other men, were liable to commit sin and mistakes. Hence, all those sectaries, in claiming the truth of their own religions, are either true or false. In the former case, the two contradictories come together, which is logically inadmissible, and in the latter case, either falsehood is to be imputed to a certain religion in particular or to all in common. In the first case, Tarji Billah Muraje, giving preference without there being any reason for it, which is logically inadmissible as follows. Hence, falsehood is common to all religions without distinction. I have explained this, my opinion, in Persian, as it is more intelligible to the people of Ajam, that is, non Arabians.
Yeah.
So, yes, as you can see from this thing, his inclination here is basically to dismiss all religions against, you can say, the the Unitarian framework, essentially.
Hmm. Special revelation. I think he's trying to refute that, right? The whole claim which many religions make, at least the famous ones who make.
So,
Like we
Yes.
have the truth and others need to learn from us. So he's contradicting that.
Yes. First thing is that, and second thing, he abhors the concept of basically giving what you can say attributes to the god, goddess, whatever it is. That
Hmm.
he sees that because the other people are disagreeing about the attributes, that means they are inadmissibly false. So, of course, that is a very
Yeah,
shallow view, I guess.
yeah. So let's start from the beginning, right? So he says that he went to, what did he say? Remotest corner of the world and so on. Uh,
Yes,
at least when he's writing the text, this what he said is false, right? He did
Yes, yes.
not go to any remotest corner of the
very
world.
well.
So
He
So he
did
take
not
your
go
uses
pick.
much further
hyperboles
than
Point on
Bengal
this.
because
anywhere.
back then very few could afford to travel to the remotest corners of the world, and also knowledge about most parts of the world was pretty scarce. He had money enough to travel to certain choice destinations in the world, and to most Indians who didn't have access to that kind of uh, money, that was a big thing. So that was
In this time period, it's the 1800s. He had not even technically left Bengal presidency. He had been to, as far as I know, he had been to Patna. He had been to Kashi. At most, he would have visited Bhutan with John Digby. And the story about him going to Tibet is obviously false. Entry of outsiders in Tibet was forbidden at that point in time.
fantastic. So he uses this opportunity to exaggerate and, yeah, make false claims in his book.
Yes, he probably even
And
never left
then
British territory.
and then we see something else as well. So he now makes a broad claim without any evidence at all that everyone that he met, every single human being attests to this existence of one being who is the source of creation and yada yada, the usual stuff that we know. Again, here he has for the so-called rationalism that he is proposed to have had, like the reviewer, critical reviewer, quote unquote, said in the introduction that we read. Nothing that he claims over here makes any sense as far as that rationalism is considered. At least give some evidence to
It
it,
does not stand
like
against its
how
own
people think.
his own rationalism. Yes.
Yeah, like how could you make such a claim at all? It makes no sense, at least to me. And then the thing that he says, right, that okay, so everyone has this notion of one being, but the difference that comes in is because they have some peculiarities about attributes of that being or the attributes of those creeds that they have on what he also uses the word haram and halal, like what's forbidden and what's not in those creeds. That is where all the fights are going on, and
And
nowhere else at
here,
all
a kind
whatsoever.
of strain of liberalism shows up, where he believes that these attributes, they are essentially a product of the training that one receives, and that training is, of course, by custom or tradition. So he believes
Yeah.
that there is a difference in which a man would, by nature, come up with a conclusion, and by custom. So this is very, you can say, Lockean in a sense. So it is liberal. He does
What an
kind of come to the
amazing.
conclusion of
So he attempts a kind of
blank
Unitarian
states.
reconciliation, that in a sense everything is the same, but only the traditions and the customs are keeping communities detached from one another.
Yes, I'm saying the name of John Locke because he also propounded the idea of the blank slate, right? Essentially, Rammohan is starting with the same assumption.
Yeah.
Beautiful. It's a great example. Yep.
Yes, so with that in mind, we can go on after to the part after the introduction. So I shall keep reading. If you guys find anything interesting, just interrupt me.
Yeah.
So, a gift to the believers in one God. In Persian, happy is the time of those persons who persons who are determined to discriminate between the conditions which are found in individuals owing to custom and frequent association, and those intrinsic qualities which are the results of the cravings of nature in species and individuals, and try their utmost to make an inquiry into the truth and falsehood of the different principles of religion held by different people, unbiased in favor of anyone, and scrutinize even those propositions which are admitted by all without paying any attention to the position of those persons by whom they have been accepted. Because to comprehend the real nature of things created for different purposes and to know the ranks of different acts whose effects are latent, both of which are the essential parts of human perfection, are in themselves extremely difficult. Nevertheless, most of the leaders of different religions, for the sake of perpetuating their names and gaining honor, having invented several dogmas of faith, have declared in them the form of truth by pretending some supernatural acts, or by the force of their tongues, or the contrivance of some measure suitable to the circumstances of their contemporaries, and thereby have made a multitude of people adhere to them, so that those poor people, having totally given up their sight and conscience, bind themselves to submit to their leaders, and think it to be a sin to make distinction between a real virtue and an actual sin in carrying out the injunctions of their religious leaders. Out of regard for their religion and faith, they think of such acts as murder, usurpation, and torturing others, although they may be of the same species and offspring of the same parents, acts of great virtue. And having an impression that a firm belief, literal pure faith in the, I think, what would pure faith translate as in the Islamic words? Do you have any idea?
I think Iman. Uh, probably.
Deen, Iman. Will that be the?
The deen or iman, yes, must be that. In the persons of the spiritual leaders, notwithstanding the commission of the most
Yes, it is.
abominable deeds.
It is Iman. I just checked. Complete sincerity of heart, speech, and tongue. Yeah.
Pure
Absolute
faith. Okay,
monotheism. Tawhid. So yeah. Iman.
right. So, notwithstanding the commission of the most abominable deeds, such as telling lies, breach of trust, theft, adultery, etc., which are heinous crimes in reference to the future life as well as mischievous to society, literally public, is the cause of salvation from sins. They always devote their valuable time to reading myths and legends, which are full of impossibilities and which tend to strengthen this faith in their past religious leaders as well in their present religious expounders. If by chance any of them possessing a sound mind and reason has an inclination to make inquiries about the truth of this adopted creed, he again, according to the habit of the followers of the religions, thinks this inclination to be a result of satanic temptation, and taking it to be a cause of destruction to him in this world as well as in the next. He immediately recants from it. The fact is this, that each individual, on account of the constant hearing of the wonderful and impossible stories of his bygone religious heroes, in praise of the good effects of the dogmatic creed of that nation, among whom he has been born and brought up, from his relatives and neighbors during the time of boyhood, when his faculties were most susceptible of receiving impressions of the ideas conveyed to him, acquires such a firm belief in the dogmas of his religion that he cannot renounce his adopted faith, although most of his doctrines be obviously nonsensical and absurd. He prefers that faith to all others and continues always to observe its rites and ceremonies. Thereby, he becomes daily more firmly attached to it. Hence, it is evident that a man having adopted one particular religion with such firmness is sound in mind after reach the age of maturity with acquired knowledge of books, without being inclined to make inquiries into the truth of the admitted propositions of so many years. It is insufficient to discover the real truth. Rather, that very man, sometimes in hope of attaining the honor of being regarded as a mujtahid or a religious expounder, becomes anxious to invent new arguments founded on so called reason and tradition by the help of his own knowledge and intellect. in order to give strength to the doctrine of his faith. The Muqtalids, or by the common people following that religion by blind imitation, who are always anxious at heart to give preference to their faith over other religions, according to the proverb that a hoon cry is sufficient for exciting a mad fellow, making those fallacious arguments the grounds of their disputation, boast of their religion, and points to the faults of the religions of the others. If by chance sometimes any one through want of prudence questions any principle of faith of his own religion, his co-religionists, in the case of their having the power, make over that inexperienced fellow to the tongue of the spear, and in the case of their having no such opportunity, make him over to the spear of the tongue. So we'll pause here. Do you have any thoughts on this section so far, from the introduction till this part? So one of the things I notice is he kind of makes all these accusations, which in nature can only be really applied to the followers of Islam. You cannot make such accusations to someone of Hindu sects. Hello?
Yeah,
Hello? Am I audible?
we see how he clearly highlights certain beliefs as dogmas, and he believes that dogmas are keeping people backward and binding people to nations and their heroes, and keeping them away from what true religion wants to teach them. He hopes that people can basically denounce those dogmas and seek true religion, the basically the crux of all these ideas. So he makes such a suggestion. Although we do know that this may not be true for all religions and all communities. So he's making some very odd generalizations here.
And that generalization which he makes is important because he also writes at the end of his introduction that he has written it in Persian, so it is more intelligible to the people of Ajam, that is non-Arabians. So his audience might have been Hindus itself.
Precisely.
Even the accusation he makes of, you can say, people harming others for, you can say, questioning, you can say, of faith, you can say, that does not really apply to Hindu religion because he himself got away with everything.
Exactly.
Indeed. And all of the arguments that he's making, it is very uh, reminiscent of a movement at that time, very contemporary movement, in fact.
Yes. So below he even, I think he quotes Hafiz or someone here.
I guess Sadi Hafiz, he knew them very well.
Yeah, he didn't mention who he's quoting. Or is
Oh,
this
oh no,
from
no, no, no.
Quran
I
or
guess
something?
Quran. Yeah, yeah, maybe Quran.
Ah, okay, okay. This must be Quran. It's a very general statement.
Mm-hmm. It's a Quranic verse, yeah. So let's rewind and I guess, can we summarize the framework that he's starting with? Like, he's making accusations of violence and all other, what you would say,
Yes.
superstitions, right? Towards followers of religion. And
So,
the
for
so-called
example, he makes
justifications
the
which are made
example
by
here.
those followers of the.
They make over the
Hmm.
inexperienced fellow to the tongue of the spear, that is, kill him.
Yep.
And
So
of
the
course,
influence of
as we
these
go
leaders
ahead,
over their
he
followers.
he brings up the topic of think they having a firm belief in the sayings of their leaders, think some stones and plants or animals to be the real objects of their worship, and in opposing those who may attempt to destroy those objects of their worship or to insult them, they think shedding the blood of others or sacrificing their own lives an object of glory in this world and a cause of salvation in the next. He is basically justifying breaking idols right away.
Yeah, breaking idols, killing animals, and he's saying that doing those things is perfectly okay, but to respond to that, that is very bad because somehow human lives are much more in hierarchy. This is classic liberal thought, right? We are getting the vibes of it already.
Very much so,
Or
very much
just
so.
him. We even notice Brajendranath Sheel, who is writing the book, he clearly seems to be speaking in favor of splitting open the temple of Isis and seeking true
Ah.
religion hiding behind the idols of Isis and so on. So that is there. So
Absolutely.
the attitude of the author is pretty palpable. So it's understandable
You know,
why
it's
he would
pretty.
praise.
You can understand the nature of Brahmo Samaj as a sect being very iconoclast towards you can say the traditional Hindus.
True.
Indeed.
Or rather the old world in general, because whatever view they held towards the Egyptian faith was it's understandable that they held a similar faith towards Hinduism and they just saw the idol worship and nothing beyond.
Yeah, they equated all of them altogether. Yeah, let's start. Hmm.
As if
Yes.
icon worship is not idol worship.
The- in essence, yes, because a thought can be as effective as a thought, or a person in mind who is also a thought. They might be as effective as an actual image in the way you worship it.
Precisely, because as long as you're having an objective adoration can be a person. It can be a symbol.
This
Like we
especially
have
is called
crosses
hero
involved. We
worship.
have a book involved.
They, the
All
Greeks
devotion.
especially, they would make temples to their heroes and so on.
Precisely.
Many other countries also do it, like China and others.
Focusing and
Yeah,
concerting all attention towards one icon or one person or one book or one building is basically idol worship. So I don't know what they're talking about.
Even focusing on words itself can be in the same nature, because they believe that, of course, idol worship is a distraction from God. But of course, why he comes to the conclusion that the idols must be destroyed at all, that that itself is beyond
yeah,
understanding.
I mean, the
yeah. It's
terminology
it's
they
completely
come up
absurd.
with like sacrosanct, holding certain words sacrosanct, sacred and sanctified. So, in a sense, they are speaking of certain words or certain books being unquestionable and having existed eternally. So, they are basically ascribing the same kind of, uh, you know, this the same kind of divinity to those objects that others would probably attribute to idols.
Yep, very much so. Basically, a lot of this might sound liberal because Ramon, through his, you can say, Persian learning, his Arabic learning, his Islamic learning in general, he was very acquainted with their basically with their schools of logic.
Hmm.
So they, of course, in theirs they call it like Plato is called Aflatun, Aristotle is called Aristu. So through them, he knew a lot about those streams of logic, which sound like European liberals, but it was essentially Greek.
Yep. And also the access to Persian poets as well, right? Hafiz and others. especially
Yes,
Hafiz, if
as
we
we will
can
see ahead.
cite him. Yep. He's an interesting character, but yeah, let's continue.
So this is interesting. Although it is an undeniable fact that the social instincts of mankind make it necessary that the individual members of the species should live and dwell together permanently. Yet, as society depends upon individuals expressing and understanding the ideas of each other, found on the existence of some rules by which the property of one is defined and distinguished from that of another, and one is prevented from exercising oppression over another. So, all the races inhabiting different countries, even the inhabitants of far off islands and the summits of lofty mountains, have coined words to indicate certain ideas and invented religions on which the organization of society depends. One thing I would like to point out, this is basically the liberal thesis, nothing else. First,
Yeah,
he
John
talks about
Locke.
property rights. This is property rights. Second, that you do not exercise oppression over the other. You are free to do whatever you do
That's
in
right.
your limit, and you do
Yep.
not overstep into others' rights. This is nothing else other than the liberal thesis.
This is the pain principle, right? Like your rights extend to someone's where someone knows starts. That sort of rhetoric,
Yes,
which is
I believe it might be Thomas Paine who said that, but it is liberal. Yeah, he's also liberal.
amazing
So yes,
how this is being repeated here.
he basically found it out from first principles through his own reason, or maybe he got the ideas. We are unsure whether he was exposed to English literature at the time or not.
Yeah, yeah. We'll go into that as well. Yeah, let's go on. Yeah,
Yes, as the foundation of the permanence of all religions is based on the belief in the existence of the soul, which is defined to be a substance governing the body, and on the existence of the next world, which is held to be the place for receiving compensation for the good and evil deeds done in this world. After the separation of the soul from the body, they, mankind, are to be excused for admitting and teaching the doctrine of the existence of the soul and next world, although the real existence of the soul and next world is hidden and mysterious. For the sake of the welfare of the people, and they simply for fear of punishment in the next world and the penalties inflicted by the worldly authorities, refrain from the commission of the illegal deeds. To believe in these two indispensable doctrines, hundreds of useless hardships and privations regarding eating and drinking, purity and impurity, auspiciousness and inauspiciousness, etc., have been added, and thus they have become causes of injury and detrimental to social life and sources of trouble and bewilderment to the people, instead of tending to the amelioration of the condition of society.
So the question does arise: what is like? What is his definition of social life? What is
And
it
what is
that
he
what is it
aiming
that
with
is being
amelioration? By
yes, precisely.
removing restrictions on eating and drinking, by removing restrictions on purity and impurity, what
Auspiciousness
by
and
removing auspiciousness and
a sort of
inauspiciousness as well.
amelioration will be attained. That's what he
Huh.
is claiming.
so we can see here the flattening of all. What should I say? Flattening of all boundaries. He has started that the whole liberal project itself.
Yes. So continuing, holiness to God. That is, it is strange to say that notwithstanding these ardent enthusiasms on the part of the mujtahids or doctors of religion, by mujtahids he means basically propounders of any religion.
Yeah.
There is always an innate faculty existing in the nature of mankind that if any person of sound mind, before or after assuming the doctrines of any religion, makes an inquiry into the nature of principles of religious doctrines, primary or secondary, laid down by different nations, without partiality and with a sense of justice, there is a strong hope that he will be able to distinguish truth from untruth and the true propositions from the fallacious one. Also, he will become free from the useless restraints of religion which sometimes become sources of prejudice of one against another. and causes of physical and mental troubles will turn to the one being who is the fountain of harmonious organization of the universe and will pay attention to the good of society. Again, he quotes the Quran here. It
Hmm.
is ought to be noted that the followers of certain religions believe that the true Creator has created mankind for discharging duties connected with the welfare of the present and future lives by observing the tenets of that particular religion, and that the followers of the other religions who differ from them in articles of faith are liable to punishment and torments in the future life. And as each particular class differs the good results of their own acts and the bad results of the practice of the followers of other religions to the life after death, therefore none of them can refute the dogmas of others in this life. Consequently, they sow the seeds of prejudice and disunion in their hearts instead of sincerity and condemn each other to the deprivation of eternal blessings. Though it is quite evident that all of them are living here equally enjoying the external blessings of nature, literally heaven. He translated nature as heaven here, or heaven as nature, such as the light of the stars, the pleasures of the season of spring, the fall of rain, health of body, external and internal good, and other enjoyments of life, as well as equally suffering from the inconveniences and pain, such as gloominess and of darkness, severity of cold, mental disease, narrowness of circumstances, and outward and inward evils without any distinction by reason of their being the followers of a particular religion. Uh, I think in this case he's calling out Hinduism itself.
Do you think so?
Or he might even call out Islam in this
Yeah,
case.
possibly, because if because Islam also, he did bring up the concept of haram and halal. That is a concept of auspicious and auspicious. So I think he's addressing all religions here in this para. Basically,
Also,
he's
I
addressing
think
all the rules. He's addressing most rules and
uh,
regulations. He calls rules and regulations shackles.
indeed, and that whole para of discharging duties, right? That is, I think, also in, I mean, in any religion, any established religion, this is the case, right?
He's
Uh,
calling out
at
protocol
least I do
basically.
not know for
He's
Christianity.
against protocol of any
Yeah.
kind. He wants people to discard protocols
So,
totally and communicate directly with
his
the divine.
idea of human flourishment is basically that we live without inconvenience. That is what
Yep.
it boils down to.
Basically, freedom, liberty,
Huh.
repeating.
He places the
Also,
individual
did you?
over the rule.
Yeah. Also, did you see something in this para right now that we are seeing? Um, he has this implicit belief that somehow humans can independently judge all other religions. Uh, I think no, not this para. I think in before, which I was discussing. So he makes such assumptions like individuals can independently judge all religions and bring what's truth and what's false from their own investigations itself, and that would prove that these sort of rules, such as what shouldn't be done and what should be done, is the reason why so much of suffering is there. And uh, in this para, at least, he's making this claim. I think he wants to show the hypocrisy of the religious people, right? That, okay, so you say that following these duties and all, which is like said in your religion, will give you happiness and so on, but that's not true, because all of you, irrespective of religion, are experiencing same sort of sufferings and blessings as well. What he says, right? That lights of stars and all these all things are blessings, and all the other gloominess of darkness and so on, these are all sufferings. These are natural, these are coming to you anyways. So why do you have this belief that following your religion will help you at all? This is the rhetoric, at least, that I'm getting. What's your take, both of
Yes, I agree.
It's a very fundamentally atheistic argument, basically disillusioned with all religions in a sense. You sense that
you?
repeatedly.
No, he does speak of one supreme being always, but he wants to approach that
Yeah, that's
supreme
what
being directly without being shackled of any rules. So he thinks that basically All religions are appealing to the same supreme power that can be approached without any rules, and that supreme power is basically taking care of everything, without regardless of what rules are being followed. So he rubbishes
And did you
every rule, every protocol across all religions.
and both of you didn't notice that this sort of argument, it is very deistic. Like, uh, God is there, He has made the world, and He has left it to us. Now we are supposed to do anything with it whatsoever.
Precisely.
That's the whole point that I'm getting here right away. Please.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
So we can
He
assume that
denies
this is something
scripture,
that
he denies
Unitarians were also
most of the
preaching.
things.
This is something that most Unitarians were also aiming to reach back then.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, the current Unitarians right now, Nainer and Patriot both can attest to it as well. The kind of movements that they involve in, these sort of arguments might be basis for that. Okay.
Yes. So continuing, I skipped a few pages because I found more interesting quotes here. So I will read this part. When inquiries are made about the mysteries of these things, which are so marvelous that reason hesitates to believe in their truth, leaders of religion sometimes explain for the satisfaction of their followers that in the affairs of religion and faith, reason and its arguments have nothing to do, and that the affairs of religion depend upon a faith and divine help. How would a matter which has no proof and which is inconsistent with reason be received and admitted by men of reason? As you can see, his fundamental focus falls back to reason in all instances here. We will not elaborate too much on exactly why reason here is problematic, but you can basically keep that in mind that that is the uh, falling of his argument in here.
Absolutely. That's the linchpin that he's testing everything upon.
Because when you elaborate on what is reason itself, that falls down to personal bias. Because everyone who claims to argue from a position of reason, they come from a different, you can say, a background of learning, background of cultural
Absolutely.
influences, and they all come to different conclusions. Unless
Yeah.
they are, of course, belonging to an open cult through which they seek to basically break down other you can say others who don't agree with their cult of reason. This was the essential liberal dogma in those days.
Yep.
And yes, here it comes the quote of Hafiz. So the disputes of 72 sects are to be excused because they, not finding the truth, have trodden the way of fables or nonsense. So
Hmm.
he is basically taking the line which has been taken by other Islamic scholars long back as well.
Yeah. Especially someone who was seen as very free-minded, even in their society as well. Hafiz and others.
Yes. So continuing, this part I think is quite interesting. We can discuss this. So, whereas on account of distance of time, the great superhuman powers of the bygone leaders of different religions are impossible to be proved by knowledge gathered by the external senses, which under certain conditions impart a positive knowledge. Therefore, the doctors of different persuasions, relying on the faith of their followers, have made the idea of Lavatu, traditions proved by a continuous chain of general reports, have means of proving such things. Essentially, we can translate this word as Shabda Praman. If Rishi, I think you might agree with this.
Traditions proved by a continuous chain. Yeah, we can.
Of general reports.
Over here, I think. Yeah, over here, I think he is also referring. In fact, sorry. So to clarify, even in Shabda Praman, I think this will be seen as Aptavakya, that sort of thing, like lineage of various giants in a tradition who have said some things and which are still being continued till today. that kind of a narration chain. That would be the
Yes, so
technical
basically
definition
on
within
this,
Shabda flow.
what he says is that now with a little consideration of the true nature of the idea of a tavatur, which produces positive belief, and positive belief means a claim, and a tavatur
Hmm.
assumed by the followers of religions, the evil of this fallacy can be removed. Because, according to the followers of religions, tavatur is a report coming down from a certain class of people to whom falsehood cannot be imputed, but whether such a class of people existed in ancient times was not known to the people of the present time through the medium of external senses or experience. Rather, it is quite obscure and doubtful. Besides, the great discrepancies in the traditions of the bygone leaders of each religion indicate the falsehood of their ascension. If it is said that the truth of the statement of the first class of people who reported the miracles of their leaders as eyewitnesses is to be proved by the statements of the next class, who were their contemporaries, and so for proving the truth of the statements of the next or second class, the evidence of the third class must be added, because the truth of the statements of the second class also wants a proof. And likewise, for the truth of the statements of the third class, the evidence of the fourth class ought to be added, and so on till it would reach the people who live in the present time. And so this chain or series of evidence will come down gradually to posterity. It is clear that men of sound mind will hesitate to reckon that class of people who coexist with them to be a perfectly truthful people to whom falsehood cannot be imputed, especially in matters of religion. Besides, the great contradiction is found in the affirmation and negation of the prophecy and other good attributes of the leaders of different religions, and these contradictory reports are proved also by Tavatur. So, so summarizing this,
Hmm.
his problem is that first of all, he wants the report to be, you can say, signed in a sense by each person
Yeah.
passing it down from the start to the end. Second, he immediately jumps to compare with other religions. So he does not find one particular tradition true. Rather, he wants to compare to all traditions. And why would
As
one tradition be false if the others are contradictory to it? That does not make sense. It might be the
yeah,
first
as if
tradition is actually true and the rest are contradictory, so they are false.
yeah. Also, in many cases, we do not see all of them reporting that very same incident itself. So the idea of he's contradicting, that's completely wrong. It won't make any sense. They are in various geographies. They are making their claims, and the contemporaries know it. And there is no other way for anyone else to know them at all. So to allege any sort of contradiction over there, as if they are witnessing that very same incident itself, is completely wrong.
Yes, I do not see the logic in this, frankly. It's very
Yeah.
vague.
Also,
Um,
yeah, also, did you see something like what he says in that whole point, like the miracles done by the founders, which is attested by the followers, and then so on and so forth. When it comes down to someone who is contemporary of the arguer, he says that, oh, the arguer knows that the one who right now he sees, that guy is not at all very good, and therefore what he says about someone else in the past, that cannot be good. I mean, what the hell? What kind of argument is this? How is someone's
right.
personal credibility right now is at all dependent upon whether or not he has said something truthful or not about that guy way back in the past? You have to look at things in their own boxes at least, right? Someone might be very wrong, like horrendous. In this case, let's take for example, if I am really angry over some Samaji, Brahmo Samaji right now, like he's very licentious and so on. But if he says that, okay, Rammohan did that, Rammohan petitioned against Sati in UK Parliament and so on, why would I deny that because of his personal misgivings and so on? That would be nonsensical as hell. But I do not know what kind of argument is this.
And even an
Or maybe
argument
I must
which
have.
would, you can say, come down as a tradition to the Brahma Samaji, as a fact, you can say. You would not dispute it as a fact of their religion. They would actually know
Yeah,
it to be true as passed down in that version, right? He would not lie about it. Otherwise, he is obviously untrue to his own faith.
yeah, absolutely. And to judge someone, I do not try to judge the narrator. I need to judge the damn character who is being talked about right there and then. Like if someone says that okay, Ram Mohan was a great scholar and so on of Sanskrit, I will judge Ram Mohan's writings. Why would I judge the uh, someone who's presenting that fact to me and judging his personal character and then determining whether or not Ram Mohan was a great guy or so on?
Precisely, and
Makes no
that
sense.
could also be a dumbed down version, or the version the author wants to make us see. But why would we want to rely on that version when we can study the character himself or herself?
Yeah, absolutely.
Being literate people.
Yeah, and also we always make this judgment, right? That okay, so, we do not know about the past at all, so we have to depend on someone who's there, and based on that, we have to work out our own situation. And showing skepticism over there makes no sense at all because what's the reason for the skepticism at all? Have you found any counter evidence at all that is generating that skepticism? Because if that is not the case, then this is an argument. This is a fallacious argument. At least that's I think. What do you both think? Anything that you both have to say
I think he
on
does
this?
elaborate on it a little further down. We can discuss this.
Okay, let's go. Yeah.
So he says here, by this assertion, the following arguments adduced by the doctors of religion are easily refuted. They say, firstly, how are those people who believe in the narratives regarding the ancient kings, owing to their being inserted in history and received by Tavatur, or succession of traditions to be justified, in rejecting the facts relating to the supernatural works performed by the leaders of religion, which are mentioned in ancient books and are proved by Tavatur or traditions of nations from time to time? And secondly, how can those who, in spite of difference in color, shape, manners, and of the offspring of a person from him, and in spite of the real fact of their paternity being hidden from them, believe in particular descent on or births only from the general report of Tautur, hesitate to believe in the holiness and miracles of ancient Mujtahids, which are also transmitted by the same process of Tautur? Inasmuch as the narratives regarding the bygone kings, for instance, the accession of certain kings to the throne and his fighting with certain enemies, are such facts as were then reliable and unanimously agreed upon, while the narratives of those supernatural works are contradictory and are most wonderful. For so he says that the narratives about the kings are unanimous and reliable and agreed upon. This is also not true because we, of course, see
Yeah.
contradictory evidences of kings in our history, of their actions, even even it's often disputed who succeeded the king in certain cases. For example, the example of I think in the Guptas, they do not have
Mm.
agreement as to who exactly succeeded, who came before Samudragupta,
Mm.
whether it was his
True.
brother or his father.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the
Same is the
case
case with
of
some of the Gupta sons.
we have the case of yes, yeah, we have the case of Chandra and Kedar Rai, where we don't know whether Kedar Rai is the brother of Chandra or the son of Chandra. There are numerous such examples.
So even here he is wrong as well.
Yes, uh, quite poor logic. So going ahead, he says, besides, the descent
Mm.
or genealogy and narratives of the bygone kings are probabilities, and the beliefs regarding the articles of faith of a certain religion, according to the principles of that religion, are certain or positive proposition. So, the one cannot bear an analogy to the other with this material difference. Notwithstanding this, whenever any doubtful discrepancy arises in the history of bygone kings in the matter of descent or genealogy, the reports about them are set aside or thrown away from reliance. For instance, the traditions about Alexander the Great's conquering China and his birth are mutually contradictory, as given by the historians of Greece and Persia. Therefore, they are not to be believed with certainty. So, what do you think about this argument?
Uh, uh,
So whenever he
Patriot.
encounters any discrepancy, he is ready to discard the entire argument. Uh, that's what he's suggesting. Uh,
Essentially.
Which is amazing.
but the same question can be asked about the faiths he seeks to defend. Are those faiths absolutely devoid of discrepancy?
No, he is denying them itself. He is denying his other faiths also. So he's starting off with a very strange position
So
that
is he
all of
denying?
them are
Is he
same.
denying? Is he denying virgin birth?
So there is one line here which will be interesting for you. For instance, the birth of individuals of any species of animals from their parents is a visible thing, but the birth of children without parents is quite contrary to reason. He might
Uh-huh.
be denying that,
Yep. He is doing that.
but he does accept it elsewhere.
Exactly.
And
But
yeah,
yeah, like just because so I think what he'll argue, okay, so let's steelman his position, right? So what he'll do is he'll say, okay, so natural facts are something which is completely agreed upon by everyone, but because narratives have so much of discrepancies within narrations itself, like if someone is mentioning this, then the other mentions something else, so therefore this should be regarded as false. Now, for me, this case is very nitpicky, or I should say cherry picking, right? So he is comparing a direct effect of nature itself, which is experienced by our body, regardless of what how we interpret it, or even okay. So we can even refute that as well. So there are some children, right, who do not experience pain because they have some sort of nerve disease. I do not know the name of that. So when they experience burns, or even like when they are hit, they do not react at all. Uh, that sort of problem is noticed by many. So should we say now that narrations of nature itself is false because there are certain set of people who do not experience pain when they feel burns and so on? Should we be also attesting to that fact as well, and uh, start being skeptic towards even natural events because of that sort of phenomenon? This makes no sense at all, at least to me. Any
and
points on my
also,
argument at least?
so also the he has not really elaborated on the nature of reports. The reports which he, you can say, he kinds of holds more reliable in case of genealogies and you can say kingly histories. Those they are less reliable than you can say tradition in a sense, because they are not passed down in the same manner. They are usually written down, or they are they usually written down in mostly, if you see.
Hmm. Yep.
and
But
and
for
in
the
many cases,
uh,
like even we see in the case of Raj Tarangini, a lot of facts
hmm,
come up that which are kind of contradictory. As an example,
hmm. Uh, any example that you have?
not any particular, but a lot of facts, they
Okay.
say that it comes up contradictory in that
Okay.
so and you see the nature of the text itself in Raj Tarangani, right? It is not a passed on
Hmm.
tradition, rather it is an inscribed text. He has written it. It is basically saved in a manuscript, and the manuscript is passed on, passed on, passed on. It is not changed. It is not commented
Yep.
upon really until a long time after it. So
Hmm.
it does kind of lose, or essentially, it is in the same manner as other scriptures as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can say that. In fact, what should I say? So many texts which actually experience commentaries, I would say they are far more reliable because with ages they have to go through scrutiny. Like so many scrutinies across ages they have to go through. Like for example, many say right that some of our smritis are interpolated and so on. Okay, so what's the reason that you are alleging that? Well, there were invasions and massacres and so on. How would there be any any peace era where people would be safeguarding them well enough and so on? So there must be influences in it and so on. Some powerful ruler might have put in something. Well, the fact is that those smritis across ages, across centuries, are pretty much the same, and by different geography, residents of different geography, they have been commenting on it from south to north to east to west, all of them commenting on damn same thing. And at that very time when invasions and all sorts of things are happening, so traditions have ways of keeping things robust. We see that, in fact.
Precisely.
So this allegation, I don't see any merit
And
to it.
there are Puranas, for example, which even document the ascent of Dhanananda. So as far as Dhanananda and Chandragupta Maurya, the basically the lineage of kings uh,
Hmm.
have been documented in the Puranas. The entire chronology has been documented up to
Yes,
Dhanananda
yes.
and I
Many of
think
these
even the
things are actually
Mauryas.
proven by them. Otherwise, we have little record of their existence.
So we have Puranas constantly being updated, looked into by the local Shastrakaras, and they have updated the Puranas to uh,
In the
basically.
Puranas itself, there are sections. I think maybe one of the sections itself is on the genealogy of kings. That is a particular
Yeah,
section they used to update.
Exactly. And it is believed by many
absolutely.
that the most reliable section of the Puranas are the genealogies.
Yeah, and
Usually,
do you
yes.
see how consistent they are? Like across Puranas they are consistent. Like
Precisely.
धनानंद के बाद अगर चंद्रगुप्त का आना है, चंद्रगुप्त को ही आना है, nothing else.
Bilkul.
Yeah, let's move on. I think. Yeah. Any comments, Patriot and Nainer, please?
No, not really. We can continue, I think.
Okay, okay.
So, yes. So, this is another part of the argument again, which we were discussing earlier. Some of the followers of religion argue in this way that the discrepancy between the precepts of different religions does not prove the falsehood of any religion, which was his argument earlier. The discrepancies ought to be understood to be of the same nature as those that are found in the laws of ancient and modern rulers of the world. That the modern rulers often repeal the laws framed by the former ones according to a different state of society. So all these forms of religions were also framed by God according to different states of society in different times, and the one has been repealed or superseded by another according to his will. Wait, wait. This is not an argument of any tradition. Rishi, do you think this is an argument of any tradition? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes. Please.
Did you read this part? From this part, the discrepancies ought to be understood to be of the same nature as those that are found in the laws of ancient and modern rulers of the world. He's basically steel manning the argument of his opponent, saying that the modern rulers often repeal the laws framed by the former ones according to a different state of society. So all these forms of religions were also framed by God according to different states of society in different times. And the one has been repealed or superseded by another according to his will. He is basically
Oh,
making this the argument of the opposite side. This is not true. I don't see whose arguments is this coming from.
yeah, I do not know. Like, is he trying to argue the position of Islam at least? Like, let's take, for example, what Islam would say, right? That we are the latest iteration of the religion, and the ones before, they are corrupted. Like that's the argument, right, that they give. Yeah, at least there's a doctrinal argument that the texts have been
But
corrupted, and
even
therefore
ah,
God has made this.
even they would not
Most
say that.
Abrahamic religions argue that. I mean, they have these
Yes, yes, but
uncorrupted books which have been tempered over time. But yeah.
but even they would not argue that, say, you can say Hinduism or Buddhism, they are also doctrines of God, but they are in a different state of society.
Yeah,
That is a
they
very
won't.
strange argument.
Yeah, they won't do that. Even Hindus won't say that.
Nobody says this. He has cooked up an argument which nobody actually uses. So his
I don't know.
reply comes in.
Okay, yeah, let's see.
My reply to this argument is that the rule or government of the true God, who, according to the belief of the followers of religions, that acquainted with the particular state of ever particle, who is omniscient, to whom past, present, and future times are equally known, under whose influence the hearts of mankind can be turned to whatever he wishes. Okay, he gives a lot of uh, flowery
Yeah,
praises.
too much of history.
Uh,
Yeah.
till where he gives it.
Oh my God.
Till here, bears no analogy to the rules or governments of human beings, whose wisdom is defective and incapable of understanding the end of every action, and who are susceptible of errors or mistakes, and whose actions are mixed with selfishness, deceit, and hypocrisy. Is not this
Ah,
sort of analogy between two things which differ in essential qualities? Besides this, there are many strong objections to holding the above opinion. For instance, the Brahmins have a tradition that they have strict orders from God to observe certain ceremonies and hold their faith forever. There are many injunctions about this from the divine authority in the Sanskrit language, and I, the humble creature of God, having been born amongst them, have learned the language and got those injunctions by heart. And this sect,
Oh,
having confidence in such divine
so there.
injunctions, cannot give them up, although they
He
have been
declares
made subject
himself
to
a
many
Brahmin and
troubles.
says that he cannot give up those rituals.
No,
So
no,
yeah.
they cannot give up. The Brahmins cannot give it up.
Brahmins.
Oh, okay.
Brahmins cannot give up. Yeah.
Okay, speak of it.
They cannot give it up, although they have been made subject to many troubles and persecutions and were threatened with death by the followers of Islam. The
Oh,
followers of
oh.
Islam, on the other hand, according to the purport of the holy verse of the Quran, and
Yeah. No need to.
wait, I
No
explain.
need to chant this. Yeah.
No need to say this. And quote authority from God that killing idolaters and persecuting them in every case are obligatory by divine command. Among those idolaters, the Brahmins, according to Muslim belief, are the grossest idolaters. Therefore, the followers of Islam, always being excited by religious zeal and desirous of carrying out the orders of God, have not failed to do their utmost to kill and persecute the polytheists and unbelievers in the prophetic mission of the seal of the prophets and the blessing to the present and future worlds. Now, are these contradictory precepts or orders consistent with the wisdom and mercy of the great, generous, and disinterested Creator, or are these a fabrication of the followers of religion?
Again, he brings up disinterested creator. The
No,
like
no. See
the point.
where he made the argument. So he brought up the you can say the practices of Brahmins very vaguely. Then he brought up the precepts of Islam. Then he says that
Hmm.
both are contradictory. Hence, they are both fabrications. Not
Which
that
is
either is a
because,
fabrication. Not that either
yeah,
is a fabrication. Both are fabrications.
because for him, uh, both are followers of both these two religions, quote unquote, are followers of one damn same God.
And he makes the assumption that Rishi pointed out that this creator deity is great, generous, and disinterested. So yeah, has created the world and left it to its device.
Yeah, left it to your own laurels
Yeah.
for us to be exploited and so on. But this assumption itself, right? Both of you, I would like both of your comments. Like this assumption itself that the Brahmins are worshipping that same very God, and they are saying that the commandments of that God they are following,
It's
and
confirmation
followers
bias.
of that very God in other part. they are saying that we are following dictums of that God and ending your lives.
This is basically
But the
confirmation
fact
bias.
is,
He wants all the
yeah,
gods to be the same. In order for all the gods to
indeed.
be the same, the Brahmins have to be,
So
their
that kind of
activities
stream of
have
thought,
to be
which you
justified in
can
that
say
manner.
a lot of you can say the followers of Kabir and all those have, right? They try to
Yeah.
equate meaninglessly between the deities of one faith
Precisely.
and another. So
Ah,
that kind of stream of thought was in his head so deeply. He is
so deeply.
constantly
Or he had
equating
deliberately
between
internalized
them.
it, or he wanted to use it to consolidate his own argument.
Which we see right in the preface itself, where he says, I have met all sorts of people, and all sorts of people have agreed to one damn thing, that they all believe in one God,
Yeah,
and they are
probably he
worshippers
was
of that
looking for a
very God.
specific type of people. He was seeking out a specific type of people, for sure.
Like he doesn't even understand that these sects may be making these arguments as well, that okay, we do not accept the God of theirs. Like it doesn't even come into his head. Like
Yes, our
at least
perception
read
of God
that.
is different. Our God has different
His
attributes, has different qualities, has
so
different
when they
wants to
might
us.
have said that as well, he would say that they are only disagreeing with the attributes of the god, not that it exists.
Ah,
But that is such a shallow reading.
yeah, and the answer would be, at least one
That
of the
means
religionists would be the
he
fact.
just cares about the god existing or not, not nothing beyond whether the god has
Yeah.
authority, whether it has any quality at all. It just exists as a kind of, you can say, a dot in the universe,
Hmm.
nothing else.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. Uh, he literally takes God as same as the world that we see, right? Like everyone accepts that there is the world, there is the moon, there is the sun, and all. Uh, that's how even God is
Hmm. Yeah,
even
as
been seen by
a
everyone.
grammatical exercise, it would be interesting if we can replace for each sentence he uses God, maybe with the word, and see if it works.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. I don't know.
And
Sometimes
Colonel
looking at
Patriot,
these sort of
your thoughts?
arguments, yeah. Patriot, any thoughts here?
No, none right now. Carry on. Yeah.
Right, right. So he starts saying here, I think a sound mind will not hesitate to prefer the latter alternative, that both are the fabrications of the followers of religion. Then we should consider which of these two is proper, that is, either to attribute these injunctions and precepts to God or to reject these contradictory traditions at once. For instance, one party on the authority of the scripture says that the prophetic mission has been closed with their leader, and another party claims that the prophetic mission is to end in the generation of David according to the authority of God. And these two sayings are in fact reports or foretellings and not precepts of law that they may be subject to repeal. Because in holding one to be true, the falsehood of the otherhood must follow, while the probability of change or perversion is equally applicable to both. Uh, it is strange to say that after passing hundreds of years from the time of these religious leaders with whom the prophetic mission has had been closed, Nanak and others in India and other countries raised the flag of prophetic mission and made a large concourse of people that follows by inducement and attained their success. Rather, the door of realizing their own objects in the form of religious instruction is always open to inexperienced and shallow thinking people. It's daily observed that
Wow.
hundreds of people, in the hope of gaining some honor or little profit, make themselves subject to various kinds of physical privation and hardship, such as keeping perpetual fasting or suspending one of the arms motionless or burning the body, etc., which are
Hmm.
seen among the Hindu ascetics or monks. Hence, it is not strange that in bygone days, some ambitious persons, in order to obtain the honor of becoming leaders of the people at large, or making themselves objects of reference to the people, should have made them hardships and dangers at that time.
Wow.
So he is ascribing the act of basically going through the hardship,
Austerities. Yeah.
austerities, just to become leaders or just to become objects of reverence.
Gain followers. Yeah. And did he just diss Nanak above?
No, he's praising him as a, you can say, one of those
Okay.
who basically raised the flag of the prophetic mission even after it was closed.
Yeah, and
So he is
later that
basically
line used.
dissing the prophetic mission or the claims of the prophetic mission by saying that somebody else came and said the same things you said later as well.
And the line that you can read here, right? That Nanak and others in India and other countries raised the flag of prophetic mission and made a large concourse of people, their followers, by inducement and attained to success. What is he alleging? Like inducement? What is he trying to say? Like they uh, sympathized
By
with their
probably that same
beliefs and
thing
all?
that the by the same penances he argues against.
Huh.
So, in a sense, as you can see, he mentioned the act of burning the body. So, looking back now,
Yeah, maybe
of course,
he's addressing,
we work.
activities like
Hmm,
fire, rituals like fire walking and so on, which are in
I
practice
think
across the nation.
burning the body would be Agni Samadhi, probably.
No, but he's talking about rishis, specifically rishis, uh, having rituals involving fire to, and he's calling it a hardship. Probably Agni
Yes.
Samadhi, probably not, because in Agni Samadhi the person doesn't survive. So he's talking about something which is looked at as a hardship. So maybe those different rituals that they perform during Charak Puja, or different times of the year when they have public austerities, public performances. So yeah,
Which is
So,
which is
piercing
so.
themselves and
yeah.
so on.
Yes, Rishi.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I wanted to say this, that the allegation that he's putting is so like disgusting in a way that the ones who are going through hardships, they go for their own sake. Or like most of the times we see that, right? Like someone did some pratigya or some sort of a promise that, okay, I shall do this for you, the Lord, and then he does this hardship. In the meantime, when others are seeing it and respecting that sort of conviction and going and respecting them, he is alleging that the guy who's doing the penance is actually doing it to get reverence of others, not because he has his own conviction or his own motives or any sort of high purpose at all. Like, who the hell is he to allege anything to anybody? Like, how are you the primary authority to say that, okay, you are doing it because you want followers? Because nobody goes through hardship and dangers because they have their own conviction. No, no, you do that because you need to get followers and you need to become cult leaders and so on. Like, what the hell?
That's why also the nature of Brahma worship, it is essentially about, you can say, having fun in a sense. They sing songs and all
Hmm.
that. They discuss literature in a
Yeah.
very, you can say, fancy manner. So yes, it is without hardships, without any penances, without anything really.
without any
In fact,
responsibilities, basically. Nothing binding you to the community.
But one
what you
thing does bind them, that they want to make others give up their responsibilities that they feel is
yeah,
their responsibility.
Yes, they want to expand
I
their
mean,
flock, basically. Very similar in ways to the free will concept in Christianity. So yeah.
the best way to get followers in is in fact to say that, okay, you shall not required to go through hardships at all. Follow me, I shall teach you something very simple and very eloquent, and you will feel happy and so on. Like, you are the ones who want followers, it's the other guy. He's alleging, it's like self projection. He's what he is doing is he's imposing his own intentions upon someone else. At least it feels like that to me.
And as a rule, the you can say a majority of people do follow, in a sense, others who are authorities above them. So would it make sense to follow someone who has committed to austerities, or to follow someone who abstains from austerities entirely?
Yeah. Also, you see, like going through hardships and austerities, aren't the Brahmo Samaji, didn't they allege these sort of allegations on Rammohan himself? When they say every single time that he went through so much pain, the society was against him, that group was against
Yes.
him, that group was against him. What is that about then? What should we allege the same thing over here then? What he's saying right now?
To be fair, it is the Brahmos who say that and not Ramon himself. Unless he has self-victimized somewhere, then maybe we can add to that point. Otherwise, the
Like
Brahmos.
in some parts he has done this. Like in one of his letters, he alleges that
Oh,
I
right.
am
Complaining
abused
over the
by my own
missionaries.
people.
That case I
Yeah,
know about,
missionaries.
when he's
Yeah,
complaining over the missionaries in a very rude manner.
yeah. Like also in one of the letters he says right that the Brahmins who abuse me also agree with me. So he plays that card as well. Like see, I had to suffer through so much tribulations and so on. So much for being.
That they have to
uh,
begrudgingly accept my words.
yeah. So he's alleging
Yes,
himself to be a victim. Funny how things change.
right. So we can move a little further ahead. The most of this is basically part of the same argument.
Hmm.
Here, I think he quotes again a verse of Quran or something else. So many
Oh
hypocritical
no, no, no,
acts
no.
of the Sheikh
Mhm.
that is
It
spiritual
may be
leader are not.
Persian poet.
Yes, yes.
It might be a Persian poet. Yeah.
Okay, okay. That is spiritual leader are not worth a mite. Give comfort to the hearts of the people. This is the only divine doctrine.
Mhm.
This is not. This is a very strange verse. Wherever he got it. In short, the
Borderline
individuals of
Charvak.
mankind. The individuals of mankind regarded as those who are deceivers and those who are deluded, and those who are not either belong to four classes. Firstly, a class of deceivers who, in order to attract the people to themselves, willfully invent doctrines of creeds and faith and put the people to trouble and cause you disunion amongst them. Secondly, class of deluded people who, without inquiring into the facts, adhere to others, the followers. Thirdly, class of people who are deceivers and also deceived. They are those who, having themselves faith in the sayings of another, induce others to adhere to his doctrines. Fourthly, there are those who, by the help of Almighty God, are neither deceivers nor deluded. Okay. Um, then he quotes Hafiz: "Be not after doing injury to any being, but do whatever you please. For in our way there is no sin except it, that is injuring others. This is entirely liberal."
Entirely liberal. Yeah.
Basically, the you quoted, I think, Thomas Paine, right? That principle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pain principle. Yeah. You shall not exercise your right, which uh, creates oppression for the other.
These few sentences, short and useful, according to the opinion of the humble creature of God, have been written without any regard for the men of prejudice and bigotry, with this hope that the people of sound mind will look to this with eyes of justice. I have left the detail of it to another work of mine entitled Manazaratul Adyan, Discussion of Various Religions, in order to avoid any future change in this book by copyists. I have got these few pages printed just after composition. Let it be known that the pronouncing of words of benediction on prophets as has been done in this book, is merely an imitation of the custom of authors of Arabia and Ajam. Manazara is a work in the form of a dialogue in which two or more persons are introduced to discuss a given special subject. So, about this book, basically, it is a comparative religions, basically comparing religions and their arguments. Eh, and somewhere, some places, they say that this is basically inspired from the book Dagestan. What is it called fully?
Mm.
Dagestan something.
Yeah, Dagestan.
Rishi, do you remember the name?
Yeah, yeah, I'm searching it right now. Yeah,
Yes. So it is
it's an amazing
some
reference that you
people.
put, Dagestan.
Yes, yes. So some people say that
Dagestan
this
e
book
Mazahab.
is basically inspired with references from Dagestan.
Dagestan e Mazahab. That's the book's name.
Dagestan and Mazhab. Yeah. So Mazhab meaning religions in the same sense.
Yeah.
So
Meaning,
beyond
I
this, we
think.
can probably yes.
Yeah, please go on. No,
No, you can continue.
it literally means school of religions. School of religions. Title's name is.
Got it. Got it.
Okay. Ninar, I wanted to ask you. Could you go to page 37?
37. Okay. Of
Okay.
the
No.
PDF or
Okay. Now you're doing in this right. No, in PDF it's page 35. In PDF it's 35. Roman 35.
is this the page?
Yeah. Yeah, it's starting
This
from
is
here.
30.
So for the audience, yeah, 35. इसके 5 पेज बात है. So over here, Mr. Sheel tries to articulate when was he writing this book for the audience. We are showing it to you right now. This is his investigation, at least, when he was writing it. But as Nenar has said, that might be the case actually. But he goes deep down into it. But in page 35, he actually collects some passages and he shows how eerily similar they are to liberal thinkers and their remarks, which is very interesting. Yeah,
So
Patriot,
do I
anything
scroll
that you
down?
have to,
Do I scroll down or
you
do you
can
want to read
maybe.
from here?
Uh, do we need to read from this? Okay, let's read them. Uh, in Mr. Leonard's History of Brahmo Samaj, these sarcastic remarks are said to
I
occur in
think
the
we should read the
Tufat, but
remarks
certainly
first. We
no.
should read the remarks first. So read the
Okay,
remarks
okay, okay,
first.
okay. Mhm.
If we take
So the
Murshidabad,
If we
remarks
take
are of
Mr.
Sophia Collett, who is a biographer of Rammohan Roy. So she writes, I conclude that it must have been in one of these, either the Tufat or the Manazara, the other text, that Rammohan made some rather sarcastic
okay,
remarks on Muhammad, to which reference is made by several of his biographers, as having excited an amount of anger against him among the Mohammedans, which was the chief cause of him removing himself to Calcutta. So, as you saw in the end of the text, he did call out, he did explicitly say that he wanted prophets of religions to be called out the same manner that he had called them out in by others. So he
Hmm.
did call out the prophet of Islam as well as a hypocrite. So that is there, and this is basically given the reason as to why he moved from Murshidabad to Calcutta. But I am not entirely sure if this is truly the reason because he was very well acquainted with Calcutta already. Because in the
Yeah.
period from 18 till 1804, wait a second, I think 17, yeah, 1799 to 1801, 1802. Probably he was in, with who was that? The Sir John Woodruff's father, right? I think he was not in
Yeah.
Murshidabad at that time.
I think so. Yeah, he was not there. Yeah,
And
even
he was
Sheel over
also
here
already
later on, as he
lending
mentioned.
money to people in Calcutta at that time. And he knew, of course, he was also a translator at Fort William College for some time.
Right.
At least some references to that are there.
Hmm.
Precisely. And also,
In
like,
our
I mean, investments were shifting to Calcutta by then. Calcutta had emerged as the new commercial
completely.
center as far as Bengal is concerned, with the British having come and empowered Calcutta further. So he went where the money was.
Absolutely.
Yes,
And look at the paragraph down where he says, "For we know nothing of Rammohan ever residing in Calcutta during 1804 or 1805." Like over here, it's given like this
And
sort of.
for
Murshidabad
these
This is
is
2
truly
and
years.
maddening.
Murshidabad is not even the only place associated with Rammohan's publication of Persian. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. See
so
this?
Nagendranath Chatterjee
Okay,
writes.
so the one
So
about 1804 or 1805 might be correct because 18 of, but this is in a different context. They cannot really call it out in that way because in 1805 he went with John
Hmm.
Digby to Rangpur in the north.
mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, and both were
See
1804
this?
he was
It's
respectively
definitely
written
in
over here.
Mughals.
Murshidabad.
It's written over
Yes,
here
yes.
as well. See, book the book written by Gorikanta Bhattacharya,
Rammohan's
Rammohan's
opponent.
opponent at Rangpur. Yeah, that the Raja wrote Persian pamphlets there as also translated portions of the Vedanta into Bengali. See this?
Right.
Yes. Whether Rangpur or Murshidabad be the place where the Tufat was published, it is certain that it is not the anti-idolatry pamphlet alluded to by the Raja in his first appeal to the Christian public. Yes, true. Because he's not going very, it's not a focus on idolatry in this. So that is there.
Mm-hmm.
And if in the other case, if he had published this from Rangpur, then the accusation that he was hounded by Maulvis, that would be kind of not really true because then he stayed in Rangpur till 18 of 14 or 18 or 12.
So see over here as well, you both can comment on this. Again, this notion of persecution, hardship, danger is being harkened back to.
True,
Like
true, true.
Ram Mohan has to be made a object of persecution.
Very
Stories
true,
and
very true.
hagiographies are being made. Oh, he's hounded by the Maulvis. Oh, he's hounded by these, like hounded by missionaries. He was not hounded. He was criticized by missionaries. Yes, that could be the case. He was
Criticized while being
hounded
very
by
good
the
friends with them.
pundits. No, he was criticized by them.
Hmm.
Yeah, indeed. And for a guy who's so much hated by the Maulvis, as was alleged by Colette, somehow he also gets the offer of the for being the envoy.
Precisely.
Gosh, talk about luck.
So in this section, Brajendranath Sheel also talks about the influences on him. His argument is
Yes.
also one thing. So I think this is possible that Brajendranath Sheel got it wrong here because he starts
Okay.
off with, where is it? So in this section, he says that as to the distinct influences of Western thought and culture on the Tufas, it should be noted that though the form and tone of the treatise is given by the distinctive personality and temperament of Rammohan, it is not without materials pressed into service from Locke and Hume. The rationalistic tone note uttered in the Tufat is neither Sanskritic nor Arabic but Western. The Mimamsakas and Mutazalas in the rationalistic treatment of revelation proceed on grounds essentially different from those advanced by the Raja in the treatise, which are unmistakably derived from the rationalist thinkers of the 18th century in Europe. So here we kind of arrive at a problem. So first of all, the ideas do sound. He's correct on the technical part that the ideas do sound like they came from Locke. and they came from Bacon or someone, the proper liberal theologian of the West. But the issue is we do not have any evidence of Rammohan Roy being exposed to Western thought before, at that stage at least. We do not really have that much evidence of it. The only two people he would have got, who would have probably got him those things in his influence, would have been first William Carey, who was a missionary. He would not really give him Western knowledge. And second would be John Woodruff's father. I think William Woodruff, maybe his name was, or wait, Thomas Woodruff. Yes, Thomas Woodruff. But I'm not sure if he was really inclined to those philosophical kind of leanings. Whereas when he spent time with John Digby, uh, during and after he wrote this text, he definitely learned English and he definitely read through Western thought. So it is very debatable whether he directly got this knowledge from Western thinkers through reading the text or he came to the conclusions through a very Islamic route. I think the latter might be more true. Hello.
Yes, precisely. He possibly adopted the latter route without having read much
Yes,
into it.
because he was already very, you can say, acquainted with the rationalists of Islam itself.
Not just him, even his father. His father was involved in the same kind of profession. So, for generations, the family had been in this profession and they were pretty familiar and comfortable with that kind of discourse.
Ah, that is there. He was acquainted with Locke and so on, but that was usually very late in his life. That is one thing that is noticeable. So that is one influence we can talk of. The other influence that he also claims is that Ram Mohan took influence from Voltaire and Volney, which would also be, which may be true, maybe not, because this particular reference he does give quite a good reference that he might be acquainted with Western knowledge in that he brought up Alexander the Great at all, because usually people without being acquainted with Western knowledge, they don't think of Alexander as really important in a sense, even among Persian chroniclers. So that might be an evidence to his exposure to Western thought.
Yeah,
Yes, so that was
seems like
that. And let me just search for any other decent arguments we can discuss here. And something we can point out is that he uses the Persian poets a lot. So, and as you know, there were Sufi poets like Hafiz and so on, who
oh,
were quite
yes.
liberal in their thought, not really interested in ritual, not really interested in the, you can say, doctrines of religion, and more interested in, you can say, the romanticisms, the vague idealizations, whatever you might want to describe it
That
as.
is the one card they have, like, he played basically. I mean, the romantic poets who were liberal in comparison to what most people in that faith were like. So they tried to maximally utilize those, I mean, the words of such people who kind of stood out
Okay,
as
this is interesting.
exceptions.
So Bridgetnath Sheel writes here that he applies the terms of Arabic logic. D declares the absurdity of the proposition that all religions are true at one and the same time. Even when it is established that all religions cannot at one and the same time be true, it may be contended that certain religion may be true and the rest false. The objection does not escape the Raja that who at once demands sufficient reason for giving preference to a particular religion. So he does basically wants sufficient reason to give preference to a particular region,
So Unitarians do
while
that.
also, huh. So, and here it is elaborated, the principle of sufficient reason had long been an accepted canon in Arabic logic. It was through Leibniz that it found its way into European logic in the 17th century. We might have to look into this, the concept of sufficient reason. This might be quite an interesting thing to look into, because then then by that logic he is kind of coming from this school of thought as well. That might be the reason he is kind of propounding. So yes, I
What
think
stands
that
in
was,
men's way of inquiring into the truth? So he's positing a certain definition for truth here too.
huh. He starts off with the you can say declaration: man as rational beings, it may be hoped, will be found inclined to inquire into the truth. But in point of fact, they are far otherwise. What is that makes them averse to the inquiry into truth? According to the Raja, men do not search after the truth because leaders of different religions, so he blames the leaders of religion. Second, they pretend to have worked miracles and put them forward
So he's
for the
attempting to
validity.
separate truth from dogma. He's saying dogma is what is adding to the occlusion and keeping us blinded, keeping us away from the truth. So these
Yes,
are certain assumptions he tries to put forward.
yeah, essentially, yes. And
They consider that their salvation depends. So again, a flaw that he thinks he's pointing out. They consider that their salvation depends on their firm faith in their spiritual leaders and is not affected by telling lies and committing breach of trust, theft, adultery, etc., which are heinous crimes. He assumes that okay, these crimes are performed uh, in reference to the future life and are injurious in their effect on the society. They look upon
but
all inclinations
this
to
is a
make.
very fallacious argument because, of course, if you would take any serious person of any religion, they would obviously say that if the person is committing a breach of trust, theft, or adultery, they are actually breaking the principles of faith and they're hypocrites.
Most
Nobody would
important,
say
look
that
at the seven.
their faith being firm would absolve them of that.
Exactly. Such people are, I mean, they are disowned. We have multiple instances in which such individuals have been ostracized, at least in Hinduism. So that is there. And especially look at point seven. It's very interesting.
Yeah, they look upon all inclinations to make inquiries into the truth of their creed as a result from the temptation of Satan. So this is like
There's
how
something that,
the Christians were hounding Galileo.
exactly.
He basically jumped to that conclusion that all religions do the same kind of nonsense.
Yet we are well aware that Hinduism has no such Satan equivalent, nor the concept of temptation from this negative being causing people to take immoral routes. This kind of
Because
this thought
we
is
are basically
entirely
accountable to our own actions. The
exactly.
actions itself have their consequences
We
beyond
have the
us.
concept of karma, so there's
Hmm.
the question of temptation doesn't arise.
uh, and then, of course, bringing up stones or plants or animals to degrade idolatry, which we discussed earlier. Rishi, did you have any point from the analysis of Bridendra Sheel on this?
So ये एक इधर हम देख सकते हैं ये इस- ये-
I think we can't.
Hello?
Your cognitive kernel.
Acha, acha. Their network connection is a little bad, so we continue with a little further down. So, according to Ram Mohan, men cannot do without believing in the soul and in the next world. Okay, this we also discussed. So, how should we investigate the truth? There is, says Ram Mohan, an innate faculty in man by virtue of which any person of sound mind making honest and impartial inquiry into the nature of principles, religious doctrines, primary or secondary, laid down with different nations, can legitimately hope to able to be able to distinguish truth from untruth and the true propositions from the fallacious ones. Also, to arrive at the belief in the one being who is the source and origin of the harmonious organization of the universe, and to devote himself to the good of society. So, there are a lot of assumptions in this. First, the idea of an innate faculty that he does not really elaborate that such a faculty must be trained, and such a faculty is trained by, you can say, tradition, whether it be in school or whether it be in more traditional environments. Such a faculty must be trained to actually be able to distinguish between what is true and false. Second, his end goal, that becomes the good of society, which is very vague. Of course, it will come out to be sort of Charvaka side kind of conclusion at the end, the where he just wants material pleasure or something. Probably that.
Hmm. The only rule being not to injure others, as he quotes Hafiz. Everything is allowed.
Yep. So Rishi, we were discussing in between that he brings up the, I think Brindranath Sheer only brings up that this his
Hmm.
idea of reason is basically derived from Arabic logic, which was so here it is. The principle, the objection does not escape the Raja who at once demands sufficient reason. You should hold this together, these
Okay.
two words, for giving preference to a particular religion. Principle of sufficient reason had long been an accepted canon in Arabic logic. It was through Leibniz that it found its way into European logic in the 17th century. So one possible argument here is that idea
Hmm.
of sufficient reason which Ram Mohan Roy himself brings up, that is through a tradition in a sense. Why has he not refuted it?
True. Amazing reference. Yeah. Why hasn't he refuted this? It might be a very different kind of testimony. I mean, that logical system also has come through, what did he say? Tawatur, right? The chain of narration. Through that, he has
Yes,
learned this system. So, why not be skeptical towards it? Oh, so skepticism is only for everything else, but not on your own assumptions itself. Sounds very cherry picky and very self-serving.
this idea we can probably look into it. So sufficient reason.
Let's see. Okay.
Must be some
By the way,
particular
did you know?
idea of Arabic logic. Oh, it is by
Hmm,
Leibniz. Uh, so he was correct.
yeah, he's he's
The
mentioning
hmm.
those terms from these books, right? Leibniz and all.
So Leibniz principle of sufficient reason, it states that nothing can be so and no statement can be true without a sufficient reason for why it is that way rather than otherwise.
Yeah.
So formulated by Leibniz, it eliminates arbitrary events or brute facts from reality. He considered this principle to be one of the two foundational pillars of all human reasoning. He
And
rejects unexplained
Leibniz
facts.
himself, as Brindranath writes, he took it from Arabic logic.
Oh, I see. Fantastic. Okay.
It is
Leibniz
called the
used this
principle of
principle to
sufficient
deduce the
reason.
existence of God. Okay. So sufficient
Ah,
reason was used to reduce that, uh, since everything requires an explanation for its existence, therefore the sky daddy figure, yeah, God must exist.
ah, so basically, it's like that Kalam argument, right? You both may know that. Uh, that William Lane Craig, that missionary guy, uses it right now, which he also references it from Al Ghazali, who made this argument, right? That the everything has a cause, the world has a cause, and world cannot
Therefore,
have
God must
infinite cause. Therefore, there must be one single cause, and that is God. Henceforth, God is proved. So these set of rhetorics, sufficient reason. It's enough of a reason to believe in God. That's it.
But
Yes, that's what he says.
Leibniz, I think he puts basically the contradiction at the heart of it. So, but the idea of cause you brought up, that is basically the same ending point which it reaches.
And also, it seems that
Hmm.
Leibniz postulated something else, that because there are infinitely many ways the universe could have been, there must be a sufficient reason why God, because again, he believes in the entity, chose to create this specific reality. So, God's sufficient reason for creation was to actualize the best of all possible worlds.
What? So apparently, David Hume actually critiqued this sufficient reason. He said that we can logically conceive of an object or event coming into existence without a prior cause, meaning a cause is not an absolute logical necessity at all. That's
Right.
the argument which David Hume gave. He rejected cause and effect, right? Many people know that.
I mean, things
David
do
Hume.
happen spontaneously, so there's no reason why everything should have a cause.
Yeah, and if you take,
Arguably, something that starts off, that might be spontaneous, and everything after that might be cause and effect after that spontaneous event.
so now someone may allege to us, right, that, oh, you Hindus believe in cause and effect, right? Yes, we do, but not in this sense at all whatsoever.
No,
That
no,
just because
no, no.
there is,
You see uh, the same cause and effect argument. The
hmm,
idea of a cause even or you can say the cause even starting, that means it has to have a cause preceding the cause. So what is the cause of all causes? That would be the start
uh-huh,
point.
hmm, that's the argument against infinite regress, right? Because like for us Hindus, there could be infinite sets of causes, but that is denied by these set of people. Like, no, 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 there cannot be this. There should be only one damn cause, and therefore God exists.
And so
Like that's
we
the
come
whole
to the
argument,
next
basically.
question. Are all religions in the world false then? Is something that he picks
No,
up.
Hmm.
no, this one we discussed a little further down.
Oh,
We were going to discuss investigation of truth. We discussed, I think, here, probably here.
revealed religion as opposed to natural religion. Okay, what is natural religion
Oh,
exactly? Religion given by God
Would you like
himself?
to discuss this? You can read this out if you.
Yeah, okay. The
yeah.
Raja and the I'll read it then. The Raja and the Tuhfat recognizes no historic revealed religion. God is no respecter of persons or races. It is quite evident that all men equally enjoy the external blessings of nature, and no less equally do they suffer from inconvenience and pain. The fact of their being followers of a particular religion having nothing to do in the matter. As in the external world, so in the inner world of reason and conscience, law holds good, leaving no room for special intervention or dispensation. Hence, the Raja argues that it cannot be maintained that all men have been created to observe the tenets of a particular religion, the followers of other religions being made liable to punishment. Lots of assumptions here.
So among the various things, first of all, that all men have been created to observe the tenets of a particular religion. That may be okay. I do not see how he refutes that with his argument. Uh, what else comes up here? So he brings up basically the human as someone who is enjoying nature, who is enjoying, or you can say, equally just suffering from inconvenience and pain, equally enjoying nature, and religions or rules or anything, they have nothing to do with what we enjoy or what we suffer through. And because they don't have anything to do with what we enjoy or suffer through, they are none the fact that all men are supposed to follow a particular tenet of, or you can say, particular religion is not true. It's a very narrow argument. I don't know how he connects the two.
Yeah,
Partially he's correct that as in the external world, so in the inner world of reason, law holds good living, no room for special intervention or dispensation. Okay, that is fine. But what does that have to do with enjoying the blessings of nature and man not following a particular religion, other people being punished for not being part of that religion? Is he saying that because all are suffering from inconvenience and pain through their bodies, that religion has not offered them the same benefits,
precisely.
that they are
Yes.
not?
Since
Huh?
all men are suffering, again, the Christian argument, all men are suffering, all men are being punished, all men are being tested. Therefore, religion is not offering them any magical antidote.
Yes, so that was one thing. Probably there's another section, the twofold belief. I think
Like,
we
he
discussed
basically
this
is
as well.
positing that no particular religion is a silver bullet. No particular religion and its rules offers you a silver bullet to deal with these very human problems. Therefore, all religions are equally inefficient or equally efficient. So why not follow that kind of thing?
Ah, and here he brings up the concept of Tavatur and how he tries to refute it, or the concept of tradition, in a sense.
Yeah, according to the
So I,
followers of religions, Tawatur is a report coming down from a certain class of people to whom falsehood cannot be imputed. The Raja says whether such a class of people existed in ancient times is not known to the people of the present time.
through the medium, through the medium of external senses or experience. So basically, he argues that you need to be able to see it yourself to know it, and that he does not trust evidence unless it is a very visual, seen directly by the person, and so on. Yes, so that's the problem. So yes, that was quite a dense stream with a lot of facts we could discuss today.
As most of our streams are lately, which is good.
Yes, yes. So we should continue our
We have
basically
some
our
questions, however. We have some questions, so we can take up the
acha, acha.
questions.
Yeah, we can take up the questions. So hmm, ask why compare him with this one? Why compare him with a Maulvi? So basically because he was instructor, he was very learned in Persian and Arabic so well that he could converse in it, and he could even read and write in it, everything. That is the essential sense.
Yeah, that is why
Why
Brajendranath Seal basically to
that was not a
show that
skill everyone had in those days.
exactly.
People would be able to write in Persian, but not really speak and all that.
To credit him as a stalwart, he has called him a Maulvi. So he was an expert
Ah,
in that.
I think
And
that's the only question.
there's another comment here. Uh,
This one.
yeah,
Just as the Brahmo Samaj worked towards social reform for outcasted elite, today's Hindu movement has not focused on similar reforms for the Hindu masses. I would argue that that was not really the purpose of the Brahmo Samaj, not towards social reforms for outcasted elite, but to form an elite as a caste itself. That might have been the more accurate purpose of Brahmo Samaj.
very
And
true.
Hindutva is very unrelated. It's not. It has nothing to do with Brahmo Samaj.
Very true.
It has very different purposes, very different. Yeah, very different. You can say inspirations and so on. Brahmos are entirely, as we have discussed in previous streams as well. They were inspired by Unitarians, by all sorts of people who were dismissing religion far more than you can say Hindutva.
Mhm. Yeah,
So yes, I think that is all the comments we have. Can probably
very
end the
well.
stream at this.
Yeah, I think this is a good point to end the stream.
Yes. So thank you to all the viewers for listening and Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram. Namaskar.